In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Welcome, my dear friends, and we will start to approach the issue from new intentions and from a different perspective. We will start shedding light on the victims of Raya and the wretched women's knife. We will talk today about the first victim, Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami, Part 1. 17 women victims. Their invitee was a prostitute woman. Raya and Sakina's gang killed them and seized Egypt and their money. Raya and Sakina's gang started its activity by trading women's bodies in secret brothels that they opened and ran. After that, they moved from trading in the bodies of prostitutes to killing prostitutes and stealing their money to robbing the souls and property of these miserable women. In these episodes, we will get to know the victims of Raya and Sakina. The first victim is Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami. The age of Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami in the year of her murder in the year 1919 was about 45 years or a little more. She had married her husband, who was sick with a long illness, and had 3 children with him, 2 boys and a girl. 2 of them got married and had children, so she became a green grandmother. And the eldest son of Khadra was working as a carriage, and his name was Abdul Muttalib. Get married and move in a separate room. The youngest son was called Shaban, and he used to make him co-tarabish, and he used to live with her, and they were preparing to get married. And she married her only daughter and lived in the same neighborhood where Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami lives. And this is what enabled the daughter to take care of her sick father during the periods when she was absent from her home. And she was always absent from her home. Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami, she tended to be white and was characterized by green eye color. But because of her age, she was not very flirty with the men who frequented the camp house that they opened and ran it for secret prostitution. But despite that it was green, you find from the men who ask for it, especially in the periods when the demand for the activity of the house and all the women in it were increasing. She was green. Mohammed Al-Lami is of the kind of virtuous prostitutes, from the goddess of preservation and chastity, of the women who had a family and children. But she had a completely different life in secret from the life she lives. She had a life in secret that no one knows anything about. No one from the Khadra family of Mohammed Al-Lami knew or imagined that she was working in secret prostitution, although she used to go out daily and spend her time outside the house. And also sometimes she used to sleep outside the house, and she was used to this. The beginning of knowing Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami was through a meeting between Khadra and Sakina in the Sabanjia house, who used to live in Sakina before she left for the house of the Life Lane. She used to go to the Spongy house to visit the owner of the house who had a distant relationship, and this was a tight cover for a green activity with a knife. And no one discovered the relationship between Khadra and Sakina, and therefore, no one linked this to the disappearance of Khadra a few months later. But Amina bint Mansour, known as the mother of Ahmed the Text, was the only one at that time from Sakina's neighbors who, with her intelligence and the strength of her observation, understands the nature of the relationship between Sakina and Khadra, and the kind of work they do. Amina bint Mansour met Sakina and trusted her, and they had a close friendship. Mohammed Al-Lami used to work in secret prostitution in the houses of Hammam that they opened, especially in Beit al-Camp, which was one of the most important and successful projects that they opened and ran in secret prostitution. After that, in the House of the Life Lane, which is the center of the integrated entertainment Hammam, which was in the 2 houses number 8 and 9 in the Life Lane. Thinking about killing Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami to steal her jewelry, and thus the beginning of the project of killing women prostitutes for the gang of Raya and Sakina. He started with a passing admonition and then a passing admonition. One of the beginnings of the year in December in the year 1919, Raya was sitting with Khadra in the House of the Life Lane and waiting for any customer to come. And suddenly Raya turned the wrist green and saw that she was decorated with a pair of golden bars heavy in weight and caliber. And here Raya suddenly noticed that all the women who worked with her in secret prostitution under her management were made up and wore gold jewelry, and she is not able to pay the price of the day, and Raya lamented her situation and transferred this note to Hasabala. And the note ended from Hasabala to the rest of Raya and Sakina's men, especially Orabi Hassan and Abdul Razak Youssef. Abdul Razak Youssef was the initiator in transferring Raya's passing observation from merely bemoaning their situation in exchange for the situation of prostitutes like Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami, and from bad luck and bad behavior, they transferred her to research the right of a woman from a monster like Khadra Mohammed Al-Lami to own these jewelry and gold. while they are the men and the bullies, and the girls can't find the price of food, or the price of those who spend it on their mood. And it is clear that Abdul Razak gave a fatwa to himself that the jewelry that is decorated with green Mohammed Al-Lami is not her right. But these jewelry are their right, because they are the owners of the houses that I worked in green, and through which I formed the gold jewelry that you adorn with. And they are the ones who rent, manage, and protect the houses, and bear the risks of dealing with the police, and they face the insults and silliness of the customers. And they are also the ones who bring the customers, and if it weren't for them, a green woman wouldn't have been in the fall of her life. She would find someone who is coming to her, and even pay her a wage in the end, a treasure in the form of jewelry around her wrist. It is true that Khadra used to pay them from her wage that she takes from men the customary and agreed upon percentage, like the rest of the prostitutes. But the meaning of her hoarding and obtaining these jewelry is that she was stealing them and hiding part of the money she was getting from the customers. Or how did she get rich and buy gold jewelry and jewelry while the owners of the houses and the owners of the work became poor and can't find the price of food, and their pockets are free of the rice of the reconstruction or the cup of wine? And of course this is wrong logic and a dysfunctional and illogical logic. But this idea was the beginning of the project of killing women prostitutes for stick and sakina, and this reason is what led to the murder of Khadra Mohammed Al-Lami, and that she is number one in the list of women victims of Raya and Sakina's gang. The killing of Khadra Mohammed Al-Lami started first with a plan by Abdul Razak to steal green jewelry, and this plan was an attempt to get drunk green with a large amount of wine. I feel that she loses consciousness, and then the men try to extract the jewelry from her by force. Because of the simplicity of the plan, men doubt whether it will work, and they were afraid that the green one might scream and blame people for them in the neighborhood and expose them, or that they report it to the police and therefore it means that they are trying to steal it. Consequently, they are arrested and the house of prostitution and hashisha is closed. But Abdul Razak insisted on implementing his plan, a plan to steal green jewelry, daughter of Mohammed Al-Lami. Abdul Razak relied on several points or several reasons for this, and they were very logical. Abdul Razak ruled out that one of the women who work in secret prostitution will make any kind of noise or report them to the police, because she will fear for herself from the scandal in the first place, and she will fear for her appearance in front of her sick husband and in front of her married son and in front of her family in the soap house and also in front of her neighbors. Well, would you tell them the reason for her presence in a house like this that is run for secret prostitution? And she will tell them what energy connects her to the owners of the house that is run for secret prostitution. She will also tell them what would invite her to stay up late and get drunk with men who are trying to rob her. Abdul Razak's logic was strong, and his view of the matter was correct. And his analysis of the personality of Khadra Mohammed Al-Lami was very correct. Abdul Razak said that he will take the adventure which is trying to steal green jewelry alone, and that he takes responsibility alone. Abdul Razak and Orbi agreed with Hazabala, and Orbi agreed that he would turn the topic into a joke if the topic was revealed or she noticed. The puzzling and strange thing here is that Abdul Razak's relationship with Khadra was always tense, and it was not a good relationship, because Abdul Razak was always mocking Khadra, daughter of Mohammed Al-Lami, because of her advanced age, although she kept some of her beauty. But Abdul Razak always mocked her, and he expresses his surprise and wonder that some of the Saudi men who wear it ask for it and prefer it from the rest of the women in it, and they choose green from the rest of the women in the house. Abdul Razak always told Khadra that people like her would stay alive, and would stay alive as long as there were many beasts for men to bear the hardship of being alone with someone like her. She was green and annoyed by the comments and silly words of Abdul Razak, which was hurting her femininity. But she was always green, hiding her anger, for fear of Abdul Razak's absurdities, and also to prevent the problems that might prevent her from frequenting the house, which he was assured of as a center where she practices her activities in safety and complete confidentiality. She was always green, replying to Abdul Razak Youssef, and telling him everyone is as small as he is and every bean has a measurer. And it is very remarkable that despite the bad treatment that Abdul Razak was dealing with Khadra, and his constant ridicule of her, but the first time he asked her to be alone in a room and invite her to drink 2 cups of wine, Khadra accepted his invitation immediately and with the utmost joy. and considered his invitation as a response to her consideration and recognition from Abdul-Razak of her femininity, which he always denied. Knowing that Khadra knew and was sure that Abdul-Razak would not pay anything for her and would not pay her any wage. However, Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami Abdul-Razak followed to Sakina's room and on the second floor of the house of the Life Lane number 9 with remarkable enthusiasm. After half an hour, Abdul-Razak opened the door of the room and sent Raya to buy a bottle of cognac from the half shop. And this was the agreed sign. And after that he went up immediately Hazabala and Orabi to the room. And Raya brought the cognac, and the honest session continued in honor of Khadra, and this session lasted more than 2 hours. Khadra drank a large amount of wine and lost consciousness completely. Abdul-Razak moved and sat next to her on the couch. He surrounded her shoulders with his arm and started to feel the pair of bars that are in one hand, or a green wrist in her left hand. Although Abdul-Razak started trying with lightning movements to snatch the pair of the bars from her. Although Khadra was drunk between, but she noticed and took care, and pulled her hand quickly and got up, and therefore the plan to steal green jewelry failed the daughter of Mohammed Al-Lami. Abdul-Razak immediately appeared that he was joking with her and exaggerated laughing and giggling. And Abdul-Razak didn't repeat this attempt again, and the honest session ended like this. And she got up and stood up Khadra, daughter of Mohammed Al-Lami, to leave, and she was leaving, she said to Raya, "This guy is cheating, and he wanted to take the bracelets from me by force." But Raya al-Huwaida eased her and humiliated her, and told her sister this is joking. This situation proves that Khadra Mohammed Al-Lami would not lose consciousness completely no matter how much she drank alcohol or no matter how drunk she was. After an attempt to steal green jewelry, Mohammed Al-Lami after drunk it. And despite her awareness of this, despite what Raya said that Abdul-Razak is a traitor, but with that green she continued to frequent the house of the Life Lane and never stopped. And also I didn't take off the jewelry that Abdul-Razak tried to steal from her. And she preferred and continued to adorn her and imagine the men with her. And this proves the validity of Abdul-Razak's conclusion in the beginning that women of the type of vegetables practice secret prostitution or secret prostitution without the knowledge of their families. She cannot provoke any scandal or open her mouth with any words no matter what happens to her. Even if it got to the point, she would be killed. And it is possible that I count the mistakes of the green Mohammed Al-Lami, which led in the end to her being the number 1 victim in the list of victims of Raya and Sakina from the miserable women. Fatal mistakes and terrible mistakes made by Khadra. The first thing Khadra did was her work in secret prostitution, although she is married and has older children and a grandmother. The second mistake she made was green and led to her death, the flowers of the gold jewelry that she used to decorate in front of Raya and in front of the gang members. And this was the reason she was killed. The birth of Imam Ali, A.S. is her enthusiastic acceptance of Abdul-Razak's invitation to be alone with her. Despite his bad treatment of her and his constant sarcasm of her. Fourth, her continued frequentation of the house of the Life Lane after the attempt of Abdul-Razak to steal her jewelry and the husband of the contestants from her hand. Fifth, she continued to wear jewelry, and that she continued to wear them, and continued to wear them for men, even though Abdul-Razak tried to steal them from her, and she realized this. It was a priority for her to stop visiting the house, or to take off the jewelry and not wear it again. But she continued to go to the house of the Life Lane. She didn't stop her, and she continued to wear jewelry. She didn't take it off and continued imagining the man. And this led to her murder in the end. We will stop here in the first part about the first victim of the gang of Raya and Sakina, Khadra bint Mohammed Al-Lami. In the next episode and the second part, hopefully we will deal with what happened exactly on the day she was killed and what happened and who killed her exactly from the men, and we will deal with the jewelry that she left and sold for how much, and we will deal with her body when it is found in her medical report. I hope that I succeeded in showing the episode. And if you like the video, I hope you support it by liking and sharing, and that you subscribe to the channel. Stay well. See you in new episodes. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God Almighty.